Hello everybody, Maven here, and today we are going over 10 hidden gem weapons in Destiny 2. You know, there's a lot of new guns being put into the game, a lot of new players being introduced to the game, and everybody's so hardcore focused on the new guns, the new stuff. But there's a lot of old guns that have cracked roles that very well could be a part of the meta, but people just seem to have forgotten about their existence. So anyways, let's get to it. Don't forget to drop a like, and I hope you enjoy. So today's list isn't going to be particularly for PvE or PvP, it's going to be kind of a mix of the two. And I also decided to only add obtainable weapons on this list because it'd be kind of janky if I added unobtainable weapons and be like, hey guys, check out this really cool weapon that you can't get. So it'd be kind of unfair. I wanted to make this video with the idea in mind of helping you guys upgrade your arsenal. So let's get to it. Number 10, the Posterity. You can get this from Deepstone Crypt. So this is the only weapon in the game that can pair Volt Shot with a damage perk, which just so happens to be Frenzy, which also grants 100 reload speed, which synergizes very well with Volt Shot, so you can reload and get that Volt Shot online quicker. But Maven, it is a 180 RPM hand cannon, who cares? Well, yes, but in Season 20, they did buff hand cannons by 20%, and in Season 22 in a few weeks, they're going to buff hand cannons by another 20%, and also plus 75% against majors. So trust me, Posterity is something on the radar. Keep an eye out for this one. And number 9, we have the Last Breath Auto Rifle. You can get this from the Prophecy Dungeon Cube encounter. It's kind of following a theme with Posterity, like, oh, 180 RPM hand cannon, who cares? Last Breath Auto Rifle, who cares? Well, in my opinion, the Last Breath is the best PvE auto rifle because it has access to Subsistence plus Frenzy. That, in my opinion, is the best perk combination to have on a PvE primary weapon. These are both S+ tier perks, and you can have them together on a weapon that's in the kinetic slot, which kinetic weapons do 10% more damage to unshielded combatants. So it's already a very good out-of-clear weapon. Secondly, it has access to another S tier perk in the left column here, Demolitionist, which this is a perk that's typically in the right column. The fact that you can pair that with Frenzy and have a good weapon to regenerate your grenades is amazing. And not to mention, the day that Bungie decides to rebuff adaptive autos in PvP, because it is inevitable, this thing gets dynamic sway reduction and rangefinder, and that is going to be a disgusting PvP roll. At number 8, we got the Geon 7 Pulse Rifle. You can get this from Dares of Eternity on that 3-week loot rotation. Unfortunately, it's extremely rare. So this is one of the 2 non-sunset pulse rifles that get scope options instead of barrel options. And as you know, scope options means that you have a lot more zoom than other typical weapons. So you have much more range because zoom contributes to range. However, with the reworks coming next season, we don't really know how zoom's going to pan out. We don't know how much it's going to contribute to range, if at all. But if it's unaffected, then this is still a very good thing because it means that you can battle at much further ranges. Now, I believe that 390 RPM pulse rifles are one of the most slept on archetypes in PvP. So obviously 340 RPM, such as the No Time to Explain in Messenger, are the meta in PvP right now. And I'm sure every single one of you guys has used the No Time in PvP before. And the 2-tap is semi-consistent. You got to be really accurate and hope the opponent's not sliding and jumping around and moving around very quickly. But you might know from experience yourself that you will more often get the 3-tap than you do the 2-tap. And if you know you're not the most accurate shooter in the world, then a 390 RPM pulse rifle is more for you because it's always going to 3-tap. Like, even if you hit a little bit of body shots, you're always going to 3-tap with those things. So it's going to have a more consistent TTK. So anyways, huge tangent. The Geon 7 and the Last Perdition are the 2 non-sunset 390 RPM pulse rifles with scope options. Now, admittedly, the Last Perdition does have the better perks, but what the Geon 7 has that the Last Perdition doesn't is it has access to ricochet rounds, which is the best mag option, and then it also has a much better recoil direction of 80 as opposed to Last Perdition 63. So meaning you slap on a counterbalance stock, which ups it by 15, and you're sitting at 95, which is perfectly vertical. And I'm not about to go in depth on how recoil direction works and why you should always want to end in the value of 5, if not 100. 95 is a great recoil direction as opposed to Last Perdition's 88, which is going to be very sporadic. So Geon 7 is the best neutral game 390 RPM pulse rifle in the game right now that is not sunset. And while the Last Perdition has perks that let it slay out in 6s, the Gion 7 is going to be better for something like Trials of Osiris. At number 7, we have the Albruna D sniper rifle that you can get from Gambit and focus at the Drifter. Now, hot take here, but the Albruna D is actually the best PvP sniper rifle in the game when you're playing on an Arc subclass. And as you know, Arc's pretty meta, especially if you're a Titan. Now, the reason this is the case is because it is a high impact aggressive frame, which does the most damage in PvP, and has access to the perk Elemental Capacitor, which when you're in an Arc subclass that grants plus 50 handling, pair that with the Fluted Barrel with the handling masterwork, and you're sitting at 100 handling. And that is going to alleviate your need for something like snapshot sights, for example, because 100 handling is going to make it feel snappy enough. Now, every avid PvP sniper player watching this video knows that besides snapshot sights, the best sniper perk in the game is Opening Shot. Now, the Occluded Finality is another high impact sniper that gets Elemental Capacitor, but unfortunately, it's in the same slot as Opening Shot. But on the Albruna D, they're actually in separate slots. So you can have 100 handling on a high impact frame with Opening Shot. That is disgusting. So in my opinion, this is why the Albruna D is the best PvP sniper for an Arc subclass. But I think the reason why it's not meta is because the grind for it is so grueling. You have to play Gambit for a month straight to be able to get this role. At number 6, we have the Allied Demand sidearm from the Iron Banner. You can focus this at Salad Man. So the Allied Demand is the best PvE sidearm in the game, and also, in theory, could be the best PvP sidearm as well. But we'll talk about that in a second. First things first, for PvE, it's a no-brainer. It has the best perk combination we just talked about with the Last Breath, Subsistence, and Frenzy, and it's kinetic, so it does 15% more damage. The Buzzard gets Frenzy as well, but it doesn't get Subsistence. Overflow Kinetic Tremors is a neat role, but it's kind of niche. Kinetic Tremors you only proc on bigger targets most of the time, and Overflow is not always going to proc. Subsistence Frenzy is just extremely consistent. Now for PvP, here's where it gets interesting. So first off, the Allied Demand is the same archetype as the Drang. And as you know, the Drang is the king of PvP sidearms. But the Allied Demand has access to the perk Gutshot Straight, which just got a buff recently, so it's a little bit more accurate than it used to be. Now keep in mind, sidearms are spray and pray weapons. I wish I could have found this clip from Grenader Jake who said this, but I find myself nowadays not really aiming for the head with sidearms. I'm kind of just trying to land my shots in general. You know, sidearms are the kind of weapons that you jump with, that you ape with, that you slide with. You're not always going to be hitting the head. You really just want to connect your shots. So in terms of body shots, the Drang is going to kill with 6 shots to the body on all resilience levels. However, with Gutshot Straight and Allied Demand, you kill in 5 body shots on Guardians with tier 8 or lower resilience, meaning that you're going to 5-tap all Hunters and Warlocks most likely. And that is what makes Allied Demand a better aping and jumping sidearm than the Drang. However, the Drang's neutral game definitely feels a lot better, and you can definitely hit your shots a lot easier with the Drang. But just in theory, the Allied Demand could be better if you can hit your shots. At number 5, the Liminal Vigil, which you can get from the final boss of the Spire of the Watcher dungeon. And this is going to be the last PvP sidearm we're talking about in this video, I promise. So the aggressive 2-burst archetype is very good in PvP, huge sleeper pick, and the most popular one by far, and what I mean by that is it's the only one that sees play, is the Forgiveness Adept from Trials. But I have no clue why the Liminal Vigil isn't the meta instead. It has so much better perk options. I'll put a little snippet of the Forgiveness's perk options on the screen right now, and you can see the side-by-side comparison. The Liminal just has such better perks in every aspect. Now yes, the Forgiveness does have the newly buffed Fragile Focus, and you can run Adept perks like Adept Range on there, but even then, if you have the right parts plus Range Finder on the Liminal Vigil, you outrange the Forgiveness. Plus you have Tap the Trigger, which is such an amazing perk on this archetype. Every single shot is going to have Tap the Trigger active, even if you have the full auto retrofit setting on. So that's just giving you plus 40 stability at all times. You can max out this thing's stability. If you're a controller player, you know how much the Forgiveness kicks. The Liminal Vigil is going to be a lot more controllable. Plus you got Kill Clip, which is a perk the Forgiveness wishes it had. That's a nice little wombo with Tunnel Vision. You got Headstone if you're doing stasis stuff. Threat Detector is a great perk. Perpetual Motion's a great perk. Desperado's a fun perk. Swashbuckler's not too bad. Quick draw's not too bad, you just have so many great perks. Plus you got more range, I don't see why this isn't meta over the Forgiveness. At number 4 we have the Greasy Luck Glaive from the Ghost of the Deep Dungeon. So this is one of the most slept on weapons in the Ghost of the Deep Dungeon and in this season in general. So a lot of newer players seem to think all glaives are pretty much the same, they all do the same thing, but little do they know there are different archetypes. Besides the Winterbite, there are 2 glaives in the game that have a different archetype than all the other glaives. Almost every glaive in the game is an adaptive frame. Judgment of Kelgarath is the only aggressive frame glaive in the game. All the other ones are 55 RPM, that one is 45 RPM and heavier hitting, slower firing. But the Greasy Luck is the only one of its kind. It is the first ever rapid fire glaive in the game. It is an 80 RPM, and that makes it so much more satisfying to use. It being a rapid fire plus pairing it with the perk Lead from Gold, the ammo economy is so much better than every other glaive. So you can pair that with Incandescent for a little Ad Clear perk, you got Close to Melee to buff your melee damage for the rest of the encounter, you got Collective Action to buff your projectile damage, you got great options. But you also have to keep in mind that no glaive in the game is capable of one-tapping in PvP. It's always going to be a 2-tap regardless of the archetype, meaning that Greasy Luck by far has the highest TTK of any glaive in the game for PvP. It only really lacks in range, which I guess you can try to make up for with something like Opening Shot, but it does have the classic Enigma PvP god roll of Impulse Amplifier with Unstoppable Force. So this is definitely the most slept on glaive for PvP, and I haven't personally tried it yet, so I can't say that's for sure. I do have this roll though, and I definitely gotta get around to trying it because it seems crazy on paper. At the number 3 slot, we have the Fortissimo Slug Shotgun that you can focus from Zavala. So whenever you see somebody use a kinetic slug shotgun in PvE, it's always the Heritage, because it's a great nuke option with that recombination. You whip it out, your first shot does double damage, great for running through general gameplay and nuking down majors. However, for a DPS shotgun, if you're going to use it for like a damage phase, the best slug shotgun in the game is the Fortissimo. And that's assuming you're not doing double slug hot swapping, but still, just the standalone shotgun Fortissimo comes out on top. It has the most ammo by far because of 4 times the charm. You have twice as much ammo as all the other shotguns, plus you have a really big mag size with 4 times. So then you pair that with Vorpal Weapon, and that is a very good boss damage roll. You're gonna do 15% more damage to champions and bosses, plus it's kinetic, so you're gonna do 15% more damage to unshielded combatants. So that makes up most things in the game, most trash mobs, champions, most majors and bosses. There's a lot of bosses this can be great against. You know, Akalos, Avarok, Morgeth, Gorgoroth, Insurrection Prime's coming back pretty soon as well. And not to mention, this weapon also gets the cracked PvP Inquisitor god roll of Perpetual Motion and Opening Shot. But to be honest, Threat Detector's even better. And with the right parts, you can max out your handling and your range. And this was made back in the good old days before Bungie realized how broken the aim assist stat was on slug shotguns. So back then, shotguns had up to over 70 aim assist, and nowadays they're like in the 30s. And Inquisitor is one of those. So Fortissimo has like double the aim assist that Inquisitor does. Moving on to the number 2 slot, we got the Half-Truths as well as the Gold Tusk. I decided to put them together because they're both arc swords and they're in here for the same reason. They're very ammo efficient. Now, double shameless plug here, but I did videos for both of these weapons. The Half-Truths video was a shorts, but the Gold Tusk was an entire build video. I'll link that in the card up above if you want to go and check it out. Anyways, the Gold Tusk is just a very good ad clear weapon with the combination of Tireless Blade along with Chain Reaction. Very strong, great ammo economy on that one. So anyways, you can get the Gold Tusk from the War Table, or you may just have to wait for Xur, Banshee to sell it and then use your Deep Sight Harmonizers on that, but that's a little bit of a touchy topic. Anyways, let's move the Gold Tusk aside and talk about the Half-Truths. So every time I see somebody use an Eager Edge sword, it's always the other half, the purple sword, the edgy, mainstream, cool, rare sword. They want to fit in with the crowd, you know? I don't understand why the Half-Truths isn't more popular. Personally, it's become my main Eager Edge sword, and I use it all the time over the other half. So the difference between the two is that the other half can pair Eager Edge along with damage perks, such as Vorpal Weapon, whereas the Half-Truths can pair Eager Edge along with ammo perks, such as Tireless Blade or Relentless Strikes. Personally, I use Relentless Strikes on mine. Now, the thing about Eager Edge is you're spamming it like every 4 seconds to just speed run through content and grind quickly, but when you actually have to use it to kill ads or a major, it's going to be nice to have the ammo perk so that you can skate around more later. And also with those ammo perks like Relentless Strikes, you can equate to more total damage output than the damage perks from the other half do. It's going to be slower DPS, but it's going to be overall more damage and also more ammo to Eager Edge skate with. So in my opinion, I feel like it's a much more consistent Eager Edge sword and more people should be using it instead of the other half. I feel like the other half is more for the sweaty speedruns where people are actually seriously going for world records. And if you don't do that, then you should be using the half-truths instead. And at the #1 slot, what I believe to be one of the most underappreciated weapons right now, the reissued Last Man Standing, which you can get from the sonar station. It is a solar aggressive frame shotgun, and it is one of the few special weapons in the game with access to the brand new Discord perk. So when you get a kill with another weapon and swap to your Discord weapon, for 7 seconds it will have pretty much infinite ammo. Final blows will refund an ammo out of thin air, also directly back into your magazine. So it's like built-in subsistence, which subsistence added with this is kind of overkill. That's the role I got, but I'm trying to farm for one of Pugilist, so while I'm getting these infinite ammo final blows, I'm also restoring a lot of melee energy while I do so. Now it's safe to assume that every miner in the game is going to get one-tapped by an aggressive frame shotgun, and that most elites and majors will get like 1 to 4 tapped from an aggressive frame shotgun. So this is a very, very strong ad clear weapon to have, and especially more so for a double special meta. You can run double Discord weapons and pair it with the pressurized precision with Discord and just swap back and forth between the two weapons, getting a ton of special kills, which will spawn a lot of heavy ammo for you. So this is just an extremely nutty ad clear weapon. Any activity with a lot of ads, this is going to be borderline OP. Like, I don't understand why this isn't one of the most popular weapons people are talking about right now. It's insane. And that wraps it up for today's list. It was tough narrowing this one down. There were a lot of weapons I wanted to add on here. I'll even show you a little screenshot of the rest of the weapons that didn't make it on here. Consider it the honorable mentions. All of these weapons definitely have something worth talking about, but I could only add the 10 most exciting ones, otherwise the video would be like an hour long. So I hope this video has helped open your eyes to some old and forgotten gems in Destiny 2, as well as some newer weapons on this list that have just gone severely underappreciated this season. When you evaluate a new weapon, you really have to take a step back and look at what makes it unique, and that's where it really finds its value. So anyways, that's gonna do for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to drop a comment and hit the like, because videos like this take many, many hours and days to create. So I'd really appreciate the support. And if you are new here, consider subscribing. Would love to have you here. And with that, I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.